The following video will contain spoilers for Outer Worlds 1 and its DLC, as well as the base game of Outer Worlds 2. Greetings, I am Archivist Ash. Today's lesson is the Outer Worlds 2 DLC. What do we know? What might they be? And when might we expect them? Without further ado, let us begin.
1, 2, 3, 5, 8.
On October 25th, 2019, the Outer Worlds 1 released on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC via the Epic Games and Microsoft stores. 11 months later, Outer Worlds would receive its first DLC, Peril on Gorgon. This DLC would follow the Stranger as they investigate an abandoned Spacer's Choice research outpost on the asteroid Gorgon. Throughout their investigation, the Stranger would uncover the secrets of the failed experiments of Adrenatime and its grave consequences. An additional 6 months later, the second DLC, Murder on Eridanos, would be released. This time, the Stranger would be tasked to find the killer of Halcyon Helen, a famous Aetherwave star, entangling them in a web of intrigue between Sublight Salvagers, Rizzos, and the product launch of Spectrum Vodka Brown. Both of these DLCs had references found in the base game, something also present in previous games of Obsidian, like Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah, I got this look when he saw you next down on the courier list. His expression turned right around, asked me if your name was for real. I said sure as lack of rain, you were still kicking. Then he turned down the job, just like that. I asked if he was sure it was good money. No, let Courier 6 carry the package, that's what he said. Like the Mojaves sort you out or something. Then he just up and walked out.
For Peril on Gorgon, we can find repeated warnings on the side effects of Adrenatime in the quest Fistful of Digits.
Know how to carry yourself in a fight? I've got bounties out for these 3 marauders.
As the player is tasked with hunting down troublesome marauders threatening the town of Edgewater, we learn of their repeated use of Adrenatime, potentially related to their sudden erratic behavior, long before we are contacted by Minnie Ambrose to investigate Gorgon.
A little too much Adrenatime can bring out the violent animal in you, but if overdosing on Adrenatime turns you into a lunatic, you have only yourself to blame. Says so right on the warning label. Violent psychosis is a well-documented and legally accounted for side effect of Adrenatime.
In addition, throughout the Outer Worlds, we hear constant references to many Aetherwave serials of the colony. Specifically, we can find posters scattered throughout the world and overhear idle conversation.
We've been over this already. You can't rehearse running into Ruth Bellamy. It's not going to work.
Fine, fine. What about this? Oh, my stars! It's Halcyon Helen? May I have your autograph?
Many of which reference characters that would be found in Murder on Eridanos, like Halcyon Helen
Halcyon Helen has been murdered.
and Spencer Woolrich.
Please, can't you see my heart is bursting at the seams? I absolutely must go out. A quote from the Sisty Cutlet. I voiced a Sisty pig, aware that it was going to be slaughtered.
If we are to predict what the Outer Worlds 2 DLC would be, it would likely be something repeatedly mentioned or referenced in the world, something that was left open-ended or could be expanded upon. This could be anything from a person, product, faction, or even a location. Of these, one of the first things that comes to mind is Triangulum. Triangulum is referenced several times by Niles throughout the game.
Triangulum's known for churning out freighters, and shipbuilding ain't exactly known for being clean, safe work neither. Especially when corners get cut.
If a DLC were to take place here, we could see some expansion on the Earth Directorate, something that felt a little underdeveloped in the base game. The only presence of the Earth Directorate in the base game is through agents and ex-agents such as yourself, Niles, and DeVries. This could be the perfect opportunity to get some more lore about the agency, and maybe even some more information about the Earth or why all communication went dark. In my personal opinion, I think this DLC is unlikely, unfortunately. The way Triangulum and the Earth Director are mentioned in the game seems meant to be as background information. Triangulum is supposed to be a backstory for Niles, and framing for the personal struggle of Niles and DeVries as they grapple with the betrayal. The Earth Directorate being underdeveloped also seems like a deliberate choice for the story. Being alone in the mission and working for an organization that doesn't have a completely fleshed out history works well for the freedom of choice and ability to roleplay however the player wishes. A DLC taking place in Triangulum might undermine these ideas from the base game. Another main reason I don't think we'll get a DLC taking place here is the ending of the game. If the DLC is supposed to follow the formula of previous Obsidian DLCs, the base game ending will still be playable after the DLC is completed. Both in the final mission and the ending slides, we find information that might seem contrary to a DLC of this nature. In the final mission, we still learn the reasoning for the Earth being dark is still inconclusive, and in the final slides, depending on our actions, we can visit Niles' family on Triangulum.
How about this? We ever make it out of this system, I'll take you back to Triangulum, make the introductions myself. Deal?
He invited his former commander on a visit to Triangulum. The duo enjoyed some R&R, their weapons holstered for the most part, before meeting Niles' extended family. The commander gave Niles the confidence to reconnect, until duty once again called.
Leading us to believe this is something that happens off-screen, well after the events of the game. Another commonly mentioned location, one to which I'm more optimistic of a DLC relating to, is Tau Ceti. Tau Ceti is spoken of by Inez and several members of Auntie's Choice as a former Spacer's Choice mining colony that played a prominent role in their war against Auntie Cleo.
Now, do I got qualms with Auntie? Sure. But I'll tell you what, when she overthrew those Spacer's Choice bastards in Tau Ceti, my home system, that takeover was the best thing that ever happened to us, even if it took time to see it.
Name's Himanshu Tegulapalli, Regional Brand Manager for Tau Ceti, Spacer's Choice. Auntie has it in for all of us former reps, but me in particular.
Spacer's Choice swollen-headed mascot represents the worst impulses of old corporations, who unfairly stacked the deck against the little person, as they tried with us at Tau Ceti.
Scrabbles was originally a gift from my daughter. He fought with us during the Consolidation War, and has seen this squad through every hard deployment since leaving Tau Ceti.
Because of the sheer amount of times it's mentioned throughout the game by various characters, it's hard to imagine there isn't more to the story. Perhaps we might visit the system and learn more of the history of the merger. Perhaps we'll visit Inez's home and learn how Auntie's Choice has really changed things around there, for better or for worse. Perhaps we'll find out more about the remnants of Spacer's Choice, besides those of which we saw at Broken Knees, and maybe we'll tackle another product with a dangerous truth, like we did in the first game. Out of all the products mentioned in the game, one seems to be brought up more than the others.
Guess your gray matter is still foggy from hibernating, ain't it? My pre-mission ritual of 3 bowls of Purpleberry Crunch?
I am well into that case of Purpleberry Crunch you bestowed to me. Did you know Auntie's Choice have other products that are just as bad for you as well?
Inez, Purpleberry Crunch. It's spelled with a K?
Sure is. Are you all right, Marisol? You're looking faintly ill.
But it's an obvious misspelling. How can you tolerate it?
Because it's more authentic that way. Says so in the jingle. Sometimes you just gotta accept good marketing, you know?
We live in a universe governed by fundamental forces. Gravity, atomical electrodynamics, spelling, and punctuation. To ignore them invites chaos.
Perhaps there is more to Purpleberry Crunch than Auntie's Choice would expect you to believe. We've already previously explored the history of the Purpleberry parasite and murder on Eridanos, but that was well before all the brands fell under Auntie's management, and well before Rizzo's changed their name to Fizzo's, and even before Purpleberry Crunch was spelled with a K. Much could have changed, and it could be worth exploring. It would also be an interesting dynamic to see Inez's reaction as she learns her favorite snack harbors a dark secret. This guess might be a little out there, but I feel it would be rewarding learning more about Purpleberry Crunch, especially after how frequently it's mentioned in the base game. The last idea I want to mention is one I want the most, and again might be a little out there. A huge disappointment for many people was learning that the Protectorate was not joinable. In fact, in an interview with IGN, Brandon Adler mentioned the faction was originally meant to be joinable.
What are some ideas that you had that weren't able to make it to the final game?
So something like the Protectorate faction, they were a joinable faction initially. Like, we wanted to do that. You can tell that even through Paradise Island. There's a lot of content where you're interacting with the Protectorate.
The reason it was cut is that it proved to be far too time-consuming and expensive to include, especially since the Protectorate would go against the plot of the main quest. In The Outer Worlds 2, the Consul acts as a de facto villain regardless of which faction you side with, and making the Protectorate joinable leads to a greatly increasing amount of content needed to be added to the game. Not to say there aren't already elements that could transfer over to a Protectorate run in the base game. After all, there are several remnants of the Protectorate being a joinable faction still left in the game. You can side with Vigilant Hogarth, you can repair the Automech facility, and you can also set the Protectorate mode to the Cal Caduceus. Perhaps if given more time and money, like that of a DLC, Obsidian could flesh out these elements and make the Protectorate a proper faction in the game. Maybe with the added time, there could also be a diverging path for the DLC, where you choose between siding with the Consul or the Sovereign. This seems unlikely initially, since Obsidian has yet to do a DLC anything like this before, but I think it would be a fresh change of pace and a valuable addition to The Outer Worlds 2. That will be all for today's lesson. I am eagerly awaiting the DLCs, and I will keep you updated once we have any new information. Paragon Gorgon took 11 months to release, but that was in the height of COVID-19, so we might expect the DLC for Outer Worlds 2 a little bit earlier. My guess is the first DLC will be announced at the Xbox Game Showcase that usually happens every summer, with a release shortly following. If you want to be up to date with Outer Worlds as new news comes out, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and may the grand plan guide you.
Of this fatal attraction.